we're halfway through number 22 on the list. And so just wanted to go through some of our operational things, provide information, and try to answer any questions. So the agenda, this is what we'll roughly work through. Hopefully you have that, or if you need it, I can get it to you later. And we are recording the business meeting session, so if you need to refer back to it, you can. Anyhow, wanted to give you sort of the nuts and bolts on the money, and this would be current as of last Friday, the 30th. And so you can see, at least in the 28 years I've been volunteering as the exec director, I tried to keep this current. You can see through the 90s, we were at a lower plateau, and then through the 2000s and up till now, we tend to run in the right around either side of 20,000 US in the account. And this is independent of every 2 years when we have a symposium, there's a local bank account set up by the host jurisdiction. And so John Jorgensen has been managing the finances for this Alberta symposium. And so once we get bills paid, and then some of that money will come back into the main master account. So we're doing okay. We're staying pretty stable through time. Wanted to talk about proceedings. Of course, Whitefish 2.5 years ago in May of 18. We had a good turnout there. 155, I think, was the attendance. And the peak numbers I've seen so far on this Zoom were about 174 yesterday. I think Mike and ACA handled the registration. We were at about 230 here. But anyhow, so the proceedings are available. We used to print about 300 hard copies. And maybe a decade ago, we went down to the 100 to 120 hard copies. One of the things that we do every 2 years is we provide a complimentary copy to 55 agency and university libraries around the Western US and Canada. And then folks buy these for their own personal libraries. But a number of years ago, we went to downloadable PDFs on the website, so folks can pick and choose if they want a hard copy for their library and their shelves. We can do that. If they want to download the entire thing, they can. If they want to cherry pick and just select certain presentations and manuscripts, we can do that as well. The inventory of past proceedings, they're in Bozeman at Wild Sheep Foundation headquarters. And so I included this in case people need to review their library shelves and see if they're missing any hard copies that they're interested in. And you can see, some of the years we're out of hard copies. So for example, the council started in 1967 at Williams Lake, BC. The 1970 and 72 are all gone. And so there's maybe one or two others missing. I think the 92 in Cody, those hard copies are all gone. But if you or your agency or your university or your colleagues have some missing volumes that they're interested in, or don't have the missing volumes that may be interested, you can use this form and just scan it, email it, let me know what you need, and we can ship those to you. These would be in US dollars, but we'll do the shipping, pay for the postage. So just wanted this to be out in folks' hand as well. Off of our website, I just took a screenshot of the resolutions and position statements page, and you can see the sort of the guideposts that we work on. Resolutions and position statements can be nominated or advanced in the interim between symposia. And so I draw your attention to the hot link there for the position statement on mountain goats and helicopter supported recreation. Many people on today were involved with that. It was written and published in the 2004 proceedings, which was the cruise ship on the inside passage of Alaska. It was only a 5-page document, and we went with what we had information and citations back then. I think this has been heavily cited and used by various land management agencies through time. And so as I get to the next couple slides, I'm going to ask Jenna if you could find and unmute both Kevin White, who we just heard from, and Steve Gordon, because we're going to talk about an update to this 16-year-old position statement. In case there's any questions, Kevin and Steve might be able to help on that. So I do recognize those two individuals who stepped up about a year ago and said they would be willing to take on the task or spearhead the task of updating this position statement, making it a little more broader, a little more heavily cited or citations. And so Kevin and Steve stepped up. Over the last 10 months or so, there's been at least 15 of our collective folks that have gone through this, provided input, citations, their reviews and critiques. And of course, we were going to present this in April if we would have gathered in Canmore, but here we are 6 months later, virtual. And so we bought a little more time, but we wanted to get this out in front of the membership. And so in September, I sent a draft of this revised, updated statement through our exec committee, who reviewed it. And then we got on the horn with Kevin and Steve, went through comments. On the 14th of October, I sent this out via the e-news network, asking you all to take a read through it and let me know by last Friday, close of business, what your thoughts were in terms of adopt or not. I sent a reminder out on the 22nd of October, and by asking for thumbs up or thumbs down. We didn't think it would be possible to have 700 people group edit something like this, and so we were looking for pretty much a thumbs up or thumbs down. We do have the ability to adopt position statements and resolutions in the interim by the exec committee, but we wanted to bring it in front of the collective members. And we're not a membership organization in the classic sense, but wanted you all to have some input on that. By last Friday at 5 o'clock, I heard from 24 or so, and everybody was in support of this position statement. It's 16 pages, lots of good figures, more data, a lot of citations, etc. And so what we're trying for, working with Rob and Jenna and the IT Zoom wizards, we said, is there a way we can do a quick poll, just asking the folks that are on, and we've got 136 or so on right now. And we did have some comments yesterday. I think Irene Teska and Kim Poole and Bill Jex, they've been communicating overnight. I forwarded all the comments that I've gotten. When I heard back from the folks up to last Friday, I gave it to Kevin and Steve, and I know they're working on some edits. But what I'd like to do is ask Jenna if she can quick put that poll. That's one of the cool features of Zoom. You've got the ability to do a quick poll, and we think within a minute or so we can put this out and get you all to click on yes or no, realizing that there's some final tweaking, some edits to be done, but we just want to put this out there and get a affirmation of what we should do. So I don't know if Kevin and Steve are unmuted, but at this point, I would ask you all to take a minute and vote on this. And Jenna and Rob say it'll take 30 to 60 seconds, and we'll have whatever mandate we get. We wish the US elections were this easy to compile, but anyway, so I'll stop for a moment, ask you to take a minute and give your yes or no vote on whether we should adopt this as written, realizing there's some final tweaking going into it.
You got a question, Kevin. If somebody voted previously, should they vote again in the poll?
Yes, if you did, yeah, because I've got a record of who all we heard from, and so we can cross-match that. You know, not that we're stacking the ballot box. So. Please go ahead and vote if you would.
Steve Gordon here, Kevin. I just want to acknowledge Kevin White's efforts on this, really from a scientific perspective, you know, collating all the new literature related to the topic. I think he's done a really great job. And just to reiterate that this document was intended to inform decision makers, and it has, the past one was extensively referenced in BC and other jurisdictions. And, you know, it was very useful in increasing awareness and adding some credence to the need to manage particularly helicopter activity adjacent to goat habitat.
Yeah, and a big thank you in my mind to Steve and Kevin for stepping up and taking this on. It's, you know, a bit of an onerous task, trying to herd cats like they've done successfully, but we think 16 years later, this is a really much improved version, and we want to be able to get this out. The plan would be to post this once its final edits are completed. We'll post this on the council website and ask people to share it with their counterparts, you know, where this is applicable. And we heard a couple examples, like Laura's talk this morning at Cathedral Provincial Park, etc. So, Gianna, how are we doing on the voting?
Good. We've kind of evened out a little bit. We've got just over 50 people who've responded.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're sitting at, it's been open for about 3 minutes. So just going to ask if everybody who is around and available, if you want to vote, please do so within the next couple of seconds. Otherwise, we will close it because it seems like nobody else is voting right now.
Okay, I think that's fair, you know, and we didn't know a better way to do it than this Zoom poll feature. So can you share what the results are?
I can, yeah. So I'm closing the poll now. Last call. And here's our results.
Okay, well, I think that's again an affirmation of the good work that Kevin and Steve led and the 15 to 20 folks that weighed in on it. So we will get the final editing done. I think there was one or two hanging questions that surfaced just yesterday and overnight. And I know Kevin and Steve are talking with Bill and Kim and Irene and others. So I think we are comfortable in moving forward. So I'd say we can close that. And Kevin and Steve, any final comments on this? Just great thanks from the council.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kevin, for your efforts with coordinating all this. And yeah, I just want to reiterate, you know, of course, Steve was really instrumental in coordinating this as well. But the group of people that we worked with, 15 or 18 people that were, you know, pretty engaged. It was really a great team effort, you know, and a lot of people put a lot of time and energy, and we had several discussions that were really productive. And so it just was a great process to be involved with. And, you know, I just wanted to just do another final shout out to all the different people that were involved in participating. Really appreciate that.
You bet.
Yeah, and I think it really highlights the benefit of an organization, a cross-jurisdictional organization like this, to share learning and expertise. So I'm really thankful for having this opportunity.
Right on. So, and I'm going to let Fox News and CNN know that we're available to help do the election results in less than 3 weeks. We can get it done in 3 minutes. So anyhow, thank you guys. Let's go on to the next slide here. Whoops. Okay, just threw this up just for his historical record. You know, I know there's a lot of people in the room that damn sure weren't even born when this all started. But you can see the chronology through time and you know, the rotation of, we used to have a 1-to-1 US, Canada, US, Canada. And that really wasn't fair from a workload standpoint, because there were so many more states than there were provinces or territories. And so then we kind of evolved to a 2-to-1 US, Canada rotation. And in the last decade or so, we've gone to a 3-to-1 just to even out that workload. I think Mike mentioned again that Alberta hosted it in Kananaskis in 2006, but you can get a sense where it's been through time. Like I said last night at the social, the first one I went to was in Port Collins in 82. And then I stuck my hand in the air and was willing to chair this in 92 in Cody. And you can see what we've gotten done since then. So I want to draw your attention to the very bottom. This one, obviously Beth McCollum has raised her hand to be the overall chair for this. Ann Hubbs helped put that disease session together yesterday, but Catherine Rookstool has really been the proceedings master, and she's volunteered to be the editor. And so Jenna, if we could find Catherine and unmute her, we do want to talk about what the sort of timetable is. I will mention that we do intend to print hard copy proceedings again, but we're also going to take these recorded Zoom presentations. And I would ask again the moderators to check with each of their presenters and find out if they're willing to have their presentations posted. And then Rob and Jenna will have this, and I'll get Karen G, our webmaster, and Cody in touch with Rob and Jenna, and then we can post these to, or post links to our council website. I already heard from a couple of people overnight that said they're going to decline having their presentations posted, which is their choice. We are hoping for manuscripts. And so Catherine, if you're vocal here, could you fill in a little bit on timing of what we've talked about to move forward?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we will ask for people to send in drafts of their submissions, basically. So for the proceedings, sometime in the early new year. We're not expecting anybody to be able to submit a good copy right away, but we're hoping to get it, at least the first draft, in as soon as possible. I can't really tell you a date right now, but I'd say probably, around the early week of February or so. I really do hope that gives you enough time. If not, let me know. This is a process, obviously, that will take a while. But anyway, I will be communicating with each of you, finding out whether you want to submit a paper or not, and then we'll work on it. As for the format of that, I will try to basically have a similar format to that from previous proceedings.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, for
You're welcome.
not only organizing this program, but also volunteering to do the follow-up. And so, I've often said the product that we have is our proceedings and the papers that are in there, and can be criticized as not peer-reviewed literature, a little softer, maybe peer-edited is the right descriptor. But I don't know, I'm biased, but I think there's incredible information in our proceedings over the last almost 50 years now, and really helps when folks can submit a manuscript, especially, anyways, I'll just leave it at that. I want to draw your attention to the very bottom of the screen. If we adhere to that 3 US to 1 Canada rotation, next up would be one of the states. Wyoming hosted it in 92, as I mentioned. Talked with Doug McWhirter, and I think Doug had to step away for a Game and Fish Forest Service meeting this morning in Jackson Hole. But I think Ali Quartermatch is on, and Tony Mong and some other Wyoming folks are on this morning. And so Doug said he got clearance and approval from Cheyenne Game and Fish headquarters so that the state of Wyoming Game and Fish Department would be the host for the 22, and most likely it will be in Jackson Hole, which you can see was last held in 1976 in Jackson. And so we've got a lot of mountain goat and bighorn sheep issues right in Jackson Hole. And so we thought it would be really timely, plus just an incredible place to host this. Now, one of the things that we typically do every year or every 2 years when there's a, whose turn in the barrel is up next, there's usually a 2-year lead time. Well, because we've taken 2.5 years for this one due to COVID, Wyoming is now looking at 1.5 years instead of 2 years. But we've been talking all along through this. And so I think Doug, he may or may not still be with the Game and Fish Department, but he said he would be willing to volunteer to be the overall coordinator and chair. And then just like Beth described in Alberta, it takes a lot of committed people, division of labor, everybody does their part on different facets of something like this. So I know Doug will put together a good team in Wyoming of agency and university and private sector folks, and we'll do a bang up job back in my old home state of Wyoming. So plan on Wyoming in 22 and probably in the spring. Don't know what months, Jackson Hole tourist season, I think, really kicks in maybe in early to mid-May. So we'd want to be in a shoulder season so that we can afford hotel rooms, etc. So I would guess it might be, April to very early May, but that's up to the host committee to figure out what works for them and their timetables and their budgets. So looks like Wyoming will be it in 2022. 2.5 years ago in Whitefish, we just threw out the idea. I think it was either Todd Rinaldi, I don't remember if Darren Bruning was there, but I think Alaska said they would contemplate taking this on in 2024. If you look back on the table, you can see that in 04, Wayne stepped up. We had a coastal Alaska, inside passage cruise. And, even though that's 15 years ago or more, I'll still argue to my last breath that going on a cruise ship, we priced it out and it was a third cheaper than going to a land-based hotel. We went on the first trip of the year. And so not that cruise ships are a real draw right now, but maybe Alaska, that would be 20 years for them between 04 and 24. So any of the Alaska folks that are on here might just noodle on this and think we don't need a commitment now, but Todd, I think, is the one that suggested that maybe in Whitefish. So, and then frankly, you can see where it's been held. And so probably thinking ahead to 2026, it might go back to British Columbia, which was last Kamloops in 2012. And so that's only a 14-year rotation for the province. But, Yukon Territory we did in 2000. We'd love to go back there. And I think we heard from Jane, we heard from Kristen yesterday. I can't remember which one of them said it, but they're looking for a sheep and goat person for the Yukon government. And but maybe Yukon would consider doing it again, in the mid-decade. So anyhow, enough on that, but count on Wyoming in about a year and a half for the next version. This is something that,
Hi, Kevin. Just real quick, I have Todd here on the line who had raised his
Todd.
hand.
yeah, you bet. Let me go back. Go ahead, Todd.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My dog is barking in the background. See if he settles down. He's pretty excited. Kevin White and I very briefly talked, but in the past we had talked about hosting the meeting in 2024. We would still like to proceed with that. Our suggested location is Girdwood right now. We haven't talked with leadership, but I'm fairly confident that we'll get the support, and we'll even make a push for the cruise ships, although they're less appetizing than they certainly are now. I do understand the argument that it was considerably cheaper. It's really hard to pass the red face test with the public when they see that coming through a state agency. But yes, we would like to continue to pursue 2024.
Oh, that'd be great, Todd, and Girdwood would be a good spot. So, yeah, so appreciate that offer, and you guys up in Alaska just keep talking about it, and we're all crossing our fingers that we can get back in person at some point. Who knows? Hell, maybe we'll be stuck with this virtual approach for a long time. I hope not. We had an enjoyable social last night, but it damn sure would be better to stand around a bonfire and visit in person than doing it in little square tiles. So appreciate that, Todd and Kevin and all the Alaska folks for contemplating that. Plenty of reason to go there and take a look. So anything else from the Alaska folks at this point? Okay, great.
No, I would just say thanks for putting this together. I think, although I've only been able to spend limited time over the last 2 days, what I have been able to attend has been worthwhile, and I think this format it does work. It does provide an opportunity for sharing and communicating, although it's not the same as being in person. So thanks to everyone that put this together.
Right on. Thanks, Todd. Okay, well, maybe we have a roadmap for the next two. I want to get to the exec committee. You can read the fine print there, but basically we have rotating 3 from Canada, 3 from the US, and usually an ad hoc member from the state, province, or territory that's the host, and whoever the exec committee chair is. And I've volunteered for that for 28 years. Like I said, you could see on that table, Wayne Heimer did it for more than a decade prior to me. And so want to go through this. And I'll honestly say at Whitefish, I might have had a brain fart or something, but I've been through all my records and I cannot figure out that missing cell. We had another Canadian for 20, whose term would expire in 22, but I never captured that. And so we have kind of a missing hole there to fill. So just want to point out that the folks who are on it, their terms expire with this one. So Sonia, Catherine, and Brent. I know Brent's on the list here. I don't know if Sonia's listening today or not, but they'll bump off. And then Steve Gordon, Todd, and then we do need a Canadian. I'll get to that in a minute for that 2-year term. And then the ad hoc member, Beth has been the ad hoc rep because of the Alberta host. And so, and I've, like I said, volunteered for a long, long time to be this. And, that's one thing that I will plant a seed in some people's minds. Every 2 years, I swear I'm not doing another round, but I just love what this organization is about. And so I've put a lot of my own personal time and attention and effort in to help the council keep going forward over the last 38 years that I've been involved with it, and 28 years as volunteering as the head of it. But at some point I may hit puberty and I might want to go off and do something different. So I would ask people to think about, somebody that would be willing to step up and step in. I'm perfectly willing to go one more round and take it back to my home state of Wyoming. But beyond that, hell, I don't know, maybe I'm good for Alaska in 24 and BC in 26 and keep going on and on. But I would ask people to think about it because like the Energizer Bunny, you know, I think I go hard, but I don't know how long I'll go. But I'll go as long as I can and as much as I can contribute. So given that, and we thought about doing a poll here and a vote and decided, nah, that's not really the way to do this, but we do need to fill. So we have that 2-year slot for a Canadian rep for 22, just to fill that gap that was my error from Whitefish. We do need 1 Canadian rep for a 4-year term, and then 2 US for 4-year terms. The bottom, Doug McWhirter has already agreed to be the ad hoc rep from Wyoming for 22. And so what I would ask people is to email me their interest. I don't think we're going to take time and do it here unless somebody wants to jump up and maybe they rehearse their campaign speech or learn something on the election last night. They want to make a comment, but I'll open it up if anybody wants to raise their hand or ask a question or make a comment. But these are the vacancies that we've got, and I'd appreciate prompt notification of that so we can get the website updated and go from there. So I guess at this point, Jenna, I'd ask if anybody's got a hand up or a question or a comment they'd like to make on the exec committee and the vacancies.
Yeah, you have a couple questions in the Q&A that are directed towards this. So when you were speaking about the Canadian 2-year, I believe there's a comment that wasn't it Kevin White. And then further to that, there is a comment saying, I nominate Dr. Stephen Wilson for a 2-year term to fill the Canadian spot, and then a correction. Oh, sorry. Yeah, correction. That was for the 4-year term.
Okay, so let me back up one slide. And so the missing one, you know, Steve Gordon, 22, Todd, 22, and it was another Canadian for 22. And so it would not have been Kevin White. And if I'm understanding the question or comment correctly, so trying to fill that hole as well as the top tier bumps off, then we need 1 Canada and 2 US for 4-year terms each, if that's clear. So I'm sorry, what was the other nomination or comment?
Yeah, so the second one was a nomination for Dr. Stephen Wilson for a 4-year term to fill the Canadian slot.
Okay, and I'll ask, did Steve self-nominate or did somebody nominate him while he's not on?
Somebody else nominated.
Okay, well, we can certainly circle back with him. Steve's been on the exec committee in the past, and you know, I'm perfectly happy to try and reach out to him. I've been working a fair bit with Steve. And
I've actually just enabled him to be able to speak because he had his hand raised. So
okay, go ahead, Steve.
Be able to unmute your mic.
Steve Wilson.
Yeah, Kevin, I accept the nomination.
Okay. For the 2-year or 4-year?
I'll take 4 years.
All right.
4 more years.
4 more years, yeah.
A nomination also just came in to nominate Kevin White for the US position for a 4-year term.
And if we need a 2-year term for Canada, I'll nominate Mike Yoakum.
Okay. Mike and Kevin, would you guys be willing to accept that nomination?
Yeah, Kev, this is Kevin White, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I would accept the nomination. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mike here, and yes, yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
Okay, so we got Steve Wilson and Mike Yoakum, and we need 1 2-year and 1 4-year. So rock, paper, scissors. Then we need 1 other US for a 2-year term. So Mike or Steve, you guys.
There are 2 more comments here. Somebody nominated Helen to fill in the remaining Canadian term or Canada term. And then Todd, I'm not sure, Todd, if you still have the ability to speak there, but you put in a comment here about liking to remain, so I'm not sure if you'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, I would just throw my name out there, self-nominate, because I'd like to stay on the executive board.
Okay, let me go back here. So Todd, you're good through 22. And so, sorry, having a brain snap here. If you're already on for 2.
Yeah, no, that was I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about 2022. We're still talking about 2020. My bad.
Yeah, so whoops. So yeah, Todd, I think you're good for another 2 years. And so Helen, I don't know if Helen's on. You know, she announced yesterday that she will be retiring. Just like most of us, she won't go away. She'll keep doing this stuff. But Helen, are you on? And could you unmute?
Hi, you guys. Sorry, I got kicked off, so I just logged back on. What did you want me to do, Kevin?
Some friend of yours, some secret admirer, nominated you for that 2-year vacancy. We need a 2-year Canadian individual to fill out 2 years of a term that I didn't capture the name on from Whitefish. So
Yeah, no, I could do that if you want. That would be lovely to stand for that position.
okay, thank you, Helen. And so if Helen could do the top one, the Canada 2-year term through 22, either Steve Wilson or Mike Jokinen for the one Canada 4-year term, and then Kevin White 4 years from the US. We would need one other US for 4 years. And so Steve and Mike, I'll let you guys maybe chat privately and then rock, paper, scissors, see who wants to do that. So do we have another US individual somebody could nominate or self-nominate for a 4-year term?
I'm definitely good with Steve doing the 4-year term.
Okay, Mike, that was you. So, okay, so what about a US 4-year term individual? Need some young blood. I'd hate to have to just go pick somebody. So I guess last call for the moment. And then if somebody wants to nominate someone or self-nominate a US rep for a 4-year term on the exec committee, that would be helpful. Otherwise, we'll have to keep chasing to get that filled out. No brave souls?
Oh, we just got a note in the chat for Kevin Fletcher.
Kevin Blecka in Colorado.
Okay, yeah.
Kevin, are you on?
I'm unsure. We do have one Kevin here, but there's no last name. So Kevin, if you could just please raise your hand, then I'll know. Yeah, we have nothing right now, so.
Okay. I know he was on, obviously, but I can circle back with him, find out if he would be interested. And then if I need to, I'll put out a call on the e-news network just to try to fill out that exec committee. So, okay, so I've got Helen to fill the 2-year term from Canada, Steve Wilson, a 4-year term from Canada, and Kevin White from Alaska for one of the US 4-year terms, and another US 4-year term to be decided, to be determined. So anyway, twist on yourself or twist on a colleague and try to get an email to me or something like that. And we want to fill that if we could. So appreciate it. One thing that occurred to me, and I did put it in the agenda, but we're having some issues with the e-news network. And I think, as various agencies and other entities put spam filters on, we're getting a fair number of kickbacks on some of these messages. That's why I always beg, please share whatever I send out with your interested colleagues. And so talking to Karen G, our webmaster, and then Quadrant New Media out of Saskatoon, that's been our web host for a long time. We need to get together. We need to figure out a better mechanism. I think there's 770 names on there now, and I typically get about 140 kickbacks. We got to get that resolved. And so we may go to a different platform or a different way to, for people, for example, that need to update their cell phones or their email addresses, things like that. Maybe a function that people could self-update, because right now, the kickback messages I'm getting are people that are, it's kind of like Chicago politics. Maybe they're long gone, but they're still on there. And I just haven't taken the time to clean that up or find somebody that could help clean that up. So, but that is one tweak that we need to do to get that e-news network. It's pretty functional, whether it's a job announcement or a new publication or a research or management question. It's a great way to communicate relatively quickly to far-flung people. And we've got folks all over the globe that are on that e-news network. So that will be one of the tasks this winter, is to get our website spruced up, maybe updated, and try to find a better vehicle and a better pathway for this e-news network. So anyhow, that covers everything I had. Does anybody have anything else? We are right on schedule for a break for lunch, and I think we're scheduled for a 30-minute lunch break. So if nobody has anything else, I want to thank you all for whoever's been participating in the business meeting, and we'll move on. Grab
Kevin,
something to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, this is Kevin White. I just wanted to mention one thing, going back to the position statement for mountain goats. And one of the issues that came up early on in our discussions related to expanding the scope of the position statement to include mountain sheep. And so we just ultimately decided to just kind of keep the focus on mountain goats, I guess largely because the group of us that were involved were all specialists in mountain goats, and most of us didn't have a depth of knowledge for mountain sheep. But I just wanted to throw that out there as a subject, that might be kind of considered more broadly within the group, of having a companion statement about mountain sheep, which is something that some people expressed interest in.
Okay, copy that. But yeah, but what we thought is, we restricted on mountain goats, for this time around, and maybe there's another iteration of that, or any other, position statement or resolution that folks have a hot button issue they'd like to get circulated. I think this recent mountain goat position statement was a great effort. Kevin and Steve stepped up and then recruited, like I said, 15, 18 people to help. And so it's been a real team effort and a good product. And so I'm sure there are analog issues that we could deal with as well. So, okay, I'm ready to call this good. Go about your lunch, and we'll be back at noon sharp. So thank you all.